So we're at the Pack Theater.
Yeah, I started coming to the Pack about a year ago. The Pack is a newer theater in LA. People who have a lot of talent, who have a lot to say, came here to start doing things that they weren't allowed to or had space to do other places. And today, we're going to be talking with 3 women who do comedy here in LA. And I chose them all because they all individually impressed me in one way or another. Emily Candini, who is one of the head people here at the Pack Theater, she teaches classes as well. She's super rad, and she's very outspoken. Atsuko is another guest we have. She comes from the stand-up world. She is a first-generation immigrant. And what I love most about Atsuko is when I first came to LA, she was one of the very first people who I feel went out of her way to create a space for me and other people like me. Anna, I met doing a CBS Diversity Showcase. I wanted to bring Anna on because she is so smart, super woke, also one of the only female directors of a house team at IO Theater. They're all amazing, super smart, really funny, ambitious, inclusive, and encouraging women. So I'm super excited to talk to them.
Yeah, me too. And you're driving the ship. You're the captain. So I'm really enjoying just kind of listening even more than usual. So.
Rolling? Yep. Sound speeds.
Something I heard, I think Phyllis Diller said something like, beautiful women can't be funny. She believed in making herself more grotesque. What do you guys think of that? Where does beauty fit in with comedy or not in general and as a woman and, you know?
That is something I think about a lot because it's true. Like as like we are brought up, young girls, that's one of the things that's prioritized. Like make sure you look good. Like what outfit are you wearing? Like we compliment little girls on their looks before we compliment them on their intelligence or their skills or their interests in a way like it's way more heightened than we do with young boys. And I think that translates into adulthood, and I think it kind of translates into internalized misogyny where, you know, when I first moved out here and I would, you know, see an improv team, you know, with 5 guys and 1 or 2 girls, if they're like super good looking, you're thinking, oh, she's probably, you know, that she's probably just there because she's the hot one. She's not there because she's funny, and it's like a hurdle you have to jump over. And I think being in the comedy community now for as long as I have, like, I've had to like squash that within myself, which is more frustrating because it's not just coming from men. I think it comes from how we're taught to view ourselves. It's frustrating.
But I think if you're funny, that's what people are going to concentrate on. Always. I think, you know, so I tell my film students, I tell them, you know, like when I'm talking about realism and how, you know, sometimes how do you not get distracted by the fact that it's Brad Pitt or that it's, you know, George Clooney playing a guy whose wife divorces him in, you know, what's that movie? The Descendants, right? We're supposed to buy that George Clooney, one of the most handsome men on earth, would get divorced by his wife and be down in the dumps and wear you know, sandals and you know and you know, and cargo shorts. Like we're supposed to buy that, but you gotta act. It's his acting, and then you know what I mean? Like if you're funny, if you're doing your job right, like I'm not thinking about how hot. Hopefully, human beings aren't just thinking about. It's she's so beautiful. It's, you know, so distracting. I can't picture anything past that. I don't know. And if you do, then you gotta re-educate yourself. Is that crazy?
I don't know. I had someone come up to me once and like I feel like an asshole saying it 'cause I feel like I'm saying I'm cute, but like after like a friend of a girl on my team who's also a woman came up and she was like, I have to say, at the beginning of the show, I thought you were just like gonna be like the hot one, and then you were funny, and it was a struggle. It's like, thank you for thinking I'm hot, but also go fuck yourself for not thinking I would be funny.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, thanks so much. I don't know. I like want to like, I want to agree with you and say like people don't think that way, but I think people do.
But then she thought you were funny.
She did think I was funny, but it is. I think it's like this hurdle that people have to jump over, like viewing women first for their looks and then later for their skill sets.
Speaking to the George Clooney thing, I think the reason we accept it is because we've normalized that type of beauty so much in film and television that we're so used to it that we're like, absolutely, it could happen to him. I think there's like a certain level of hot to where you're never going to be funny because you don't have that fundamental understanding of life because everyone gives you everything. Like hot people just get shit. But yeah, I do. I think there's like a certain level of attractiveness that doesn't necessarily, that it makes it more difficult for them to tap into an understanding of what's funny, because for a lot of really funny people, it's been a defense mechanism. And pretty people don't have to defend themselves.
What if it's like a She's All That situation where like you,
That's different.
like we're super ugly and then you took off your glasses and you were beautiful, but you had like all that ugliness to like build up your comedic sensibility?
No, that's what I mean. Like it could be, what if you had a rough childhood, but you were so hot. You're so hot, but your house burned down when you were a kid. Your parents got divorced. You found out you actually have 2 dads. Like but you're so hot.
Since we kind of touched on how, well, tragedy feeds comedy. So if we look at it like a socioeconomic framework of the people in most comedy arenas, whether it's stand-up or improv or sketch or on TV and in film, it's dominated by straight white men. However, compared to people in the fringe, I would assume the straight white men had less tragedy. How do you balance that idea that comedy comes from tragedy, but also explain why there are so many straight white men when it should be the people who are marginalized and have gone through a lot of shit?
Because they have the privilege to take part in comedy. The majority of people in comedy tend to be, there's a lot of like upper middle class white dudes because their parents can help them pay their rent so they can go do open mics all night so they don't have to have a full-time job and support themselves. And that's just what I've witnessed in running 2 training centers now.
And also, historically, they've been making us the tragedy of their comedy. And so, assuming, right, that straight, white, cisgender men don't have as much tragic, they don't have a DACA story or immigration story, for example, maybe a, queer story having to come out or something. They've historically made us the butt of the joke, and so that is why, you know what I mean? Like, bad Asian driving jokes to women, right? Like we were the tragedy in their jokes, and I think that's why they had a leg up. It's never like I had a rough childhood. It's like I saw this bitch the other day. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so that's what they've been making. True. You know what I mean? So
well, the other side of the coin that I also like to offer, maybe you'd be more interested in, is a young comic that's not a straight white guy. Can you give them some advice, something that you've learned?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, come find me, and we'll do it. Cool. Yeah, I'm here until I get a better job. Then you're all on your own. I think it's going through it with them. I think you, especially if you're a teacher or a director, you need to be available in more ways than just notes.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. I think so much of it, like one reason I've never pursued stand-up is that like, it's one of those things that people tell you like, oh, it's scary. Like people are gonna say mean things to you and you're gonna bomb and it's gonna suck. And like people scare you into not doing it. And I think so much of it is about confidence and just believing in yourself and continuing to pursue it. Even though, like you're gonna bomb, like you're gonna have a terrible show, you're gonna write a sketch and no one's gonna laugh. Like just like telling people like, your perspective is important, your voice is interesting, and it's going to take you a while to develop it, but like you can do it, just keep at it, because it's the people who are telling you like it's gonna suck and you're not gonna like it. Like those are the voices you need to drown out.
It's important because when we all move up together, we are lifting each other up and progressing in that way. Meaning, you know, just because I'm Asian, I don't just think about Asian American issues. I'm going to be there for Black Lives Matter. When the next black kid gets shot, when the next black man gets shot, when they're trying to tax tampons, it means, I mean, I have, you know what I mean? When the president is making up stuff and possibly trying to kick, you know, and making transgender people out of the military, like that means a lot to me. You know, it's about all of us moving towards a place that makes life easier for every person as it's supposed to be. It has nothing to do with comedy. That was not funny at all. I don't know.